Yes, another Facebook read for a job that it's just this job is going to be a hell gig. It'll be really obvious when I read it why, but I think this is a good example of just an average hell gig, which is to say there's just a type of person that'll try to pick up this gig no matter what. I don't understand it. I've done many of these, and I've never walked away going that was worth it in any capacity. But let's read it. So it's a videography gig in the local videography Facebook group, and it says looking for a videographer for a Juneteenth celebration, B-roll and speeches this Saturday, June 21st, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. In a town outside. It says 45 minutes out of town. Sony preferred with a Tascam or Zoom recorder / XLR. Pay is $200. DM for portfolio. So obviously, pay is $200. So they're not serious. That's what that means. It's just that's not. I'll get into why specifically for a Juneteenth thing, $200 is crazy, but they're asking for a lot of stuff, and $200. At least for my stuff, that would probably be 250 bucks would be my kit fee, my gear fee for bringing gear, honestly. Well, let's go through it. So they want a videographer, so motion picture, for a live show, Juneteenth celebration. They specify they want B-roll and they want speeches. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., but let's be honest, it's really 10 p.m. to 3 p.m. It's a 5-hour day. It's not a 3-hour day. I think I just had a bug flying on my mustache. 45 minutes outside of town. I'm going to be real with you. That's an arbitrary number because the town I live in has traffic. So on a day that wouldn't have traffic, maybe it takes 45 minutes, maybe it takes 30. On a day that has traffic and or Juneteenth celebrations like parades and stuff, that who knows how long that would take. Anyway, Sony preferred, so they specified a camera. They specified they want a Tascam or a Zoom recorder or an XLR, maybe into camera. So you're doing sound, proper sound also. And they're asking for portfolios. $200 and asking for portfolios that's pretty wild. I've seen it, and like I've mentioned, there is a type of person who will go out for this kind of gig no matter what. And I've been on a bunch of these. I've never done one of these gigs and afterwards been like, what a worthwhile endeavor. It's never been the case. If you're doing something for such a low rate, I usually am more apt or more likely to do this kind of job for free as a favor to somebody, so that way they owe me a favor. But I would only do that in sort of a relationship where I already knew the person. This person's just shouting into the Facebook void and saying, send me reels, basically. Send me portfolios, which is interesting. Juneteenth. So it's a live show. Live shows are already tricky. It's a very common thing to do out here, live shows. The fact that for $200 they're specifying they want a Sony and they want an external recorder is just the. All right, well, credit where credit's due. I think their logic is $200 across 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. so 3 hours. That's like $70 an hour. But they're not accounting for gear. They're not accounting for an hour to set up, probably an hour to break down. They didn't say anything about whether or not they want raw footage or they want an edit, because usually videographer refers to you got to do an edit later, which is part of the reason why I stay away. But honestly, just for live show stuff, without bringing gear, my live show day rate, but I'm not a first timer, is about $500, depending on who I'm talking to. Not bringing gear, kit fee, depending on what I'm bringing, another $250, upwards from there. Like it could be a lot more. So $200 is crazy, and they're gonna get flamed. And the thing that occurred to me when I was just going over this, because obviously this is take 100, it's Juneteenth celebration, so that's a big holiday out here in Texas. Anybody camera wise worth their salt is either on vacation or they're booked. It's just this. It's the same thing as like, excuse me, like I work the South by Southwest festival every year, and so I'm just booked. But I'll get tons of people reaching out to try to book me during South by Southwest because everybody in their phone is already working. So you basically gotta pay them enough money to dip out of whatever job they have at South by Southwest. Kind of the same thing with Juneteenth. I'm not working it, but I'm also not a sort of a live videographer kind of person. I work in AV mostly because I don't edit, and everybody expects videographers to edit. Not for me. So the idea that $200, nobody who could do this, no problem, is going to be available because they're already on stuff on Juneteenth. Let's be real. So the rate should go up from there anyway. Anyway, let's read some comments. First comment is, beware of responses you get and manage your expectations. $200 is a minuscule budget for 3 hours of coverage, let alone editing and driving 45 minutes out into the country on the weekend. This person is doing a service to the original poster. That's very true. That's if really your budget is $200, you might as well get your kid or your nephew or something and pay them in pizza to do it, and just know the footage is not going to be of a standard of a person who does this for a living, because that's what you're getting. So next comment, a guy says, I'm available with a Ronin 4D cinema camera and an A7S II, 15 years of experience and years of covering Juneteenth events. Rate will be $450, no edits. I mostly agree. I still think he's underselling himself based on the fact that it's Juneteenth, and but I like that he put in no edits. So this guy is legit. He put on his website portfolio. Good for him. I keep forgetting this OP is asking for portfolios. It's like, go F yourself. That's insane. This same guy doubled down. He also put a link to his last year's Juneteenth event. So that's cool. Next person said, I'm open. Next person did the Bugs Bunny meme that said hard no. Next person said try $450. And the last person said film it yourself, which is honestly, this is a pretty, maybe it got moderated. It could have just not have been up very long. I feel like it must have got, this is a day ago. It must have got moderated because honestly, pretty toothless, pretty respectable comment section, all things considered. I mean, there will always be somebody who will take whatever made up bad number for this kind of job, especially if they're starting out. But I found out here where I'm working, it's not even the starting out people that do it. There's just people that this is what they do. They, like, if somebody goes, $150, we need to film a band at this bar, it's going to be an 8-hour show and we're not feeding you, and then like 8 people will apply. The same 8 people every time will apply. I don't understand how they're paying for their apartment, much less their equipment, but sure, maybe their angle is the shit pay means that this person will call again and you can renegotiate. In my experience, the client where you get shit pay the first time sets a precedent where they're not going to pay you better next time. They're just not. Especially the ones that say it's shit pay now, but next time it'll pay better. Those ones specifically are looking to churn through a new person every time, because they're never going to get to that second gig where they actually pay properly. Or if they do, they're going to ask for something so crazy and like off the reservation that it doesn't even make sense. I've had that happen too. I don't know. It's not even a hateful post. It's just classic like undervaluing of the job. it's yeah, it's one thing. It's one thing to ask for a videographer to show up for a live event for $200. It's another thing to ask for a portfolio of that person for $200. It's a completely different thing for them to specify they want Sony camera footage and they want an external recorder or an XLR in, which means that the tier of camera has now jumped up to like a cinema camera or like a broadcast camera. Yeah. Um, I don't know. They didn't. There wasn't enough information for this person to really make it clear what this event was. Uh, could be a church, could be a whatever. It really depends. In my experience, especially around town, if it's corporate or if it's advertising, like any company that works with video more than once a year, are pretty comfortable and pretty well like established in that they know what it costs and what it takes to do, in this case, a live video production. Recording live video. Um, Honestly, a lot of the companies will have either interns or marketing people that are in house that do it. They have their own video people. Yeah, because it's actually cheaper to do that a lot of times than it is to hire somebody like me once a year. But anyway, it's just like I'm not even mad at the guy for asking because he got answers. It's just that, yeah, this isn't like a car crash post where it just gets worse and worse. The more like you can tell the person's gonna be a nightmare. They're just undervaluing the job, and maybe that's their filter. Maybe they literally only have $200 because that's what they were told that they can do, and they know this is a disaster. But the fact that that Sony preferred, want a task camera zoom, DM4 portfolios is leads me to believe that's not the case. They just don't know what they're doing. I wouldn't do it.